Hello, so today we are going to look at magistrates. Now, magistrates is a really straightforward topic because it's just description for OCR. There's no evaluation of magistrates. Now, I'm going to split it into two parts. I'll do it all in the same video though because it's so straightforward and so short. We're going to look at what a magistrate is and what their role is, first of all. That's a potential question. And then we're going to look at the qualifications and selection of magistrates. Okay, starting off, what is a magistrate? Well, they are a lay person. What is meant by a lay person? Well, a lay person is unpaid and unqualified. They sit as a bench of three. So you find three magistrates. Where are they? They're in the magistrates' court. Big towns have magistrates' courts and cities have magistrates' courts. What is the role of a lay magistrate? You could get a question focused on this. So I'd again just reiterate that they sit as a bench of three in the magistrates' court. You have the chair in the middle and then the two wingers either side. They hear 97% of all criminal cases. They do deal with some civil cases, but really the vast majority of their work is criminal. They will always hear summary offences. These are minor offences like speeding, assault, battery. A lot of what they do are driving offences. So what they'll do is they'll hear evidence from the prosecution and the defence in a summary case, and they will decide the verdict. If they decide the person is not guilty, they're free to leave. But if they decide the person is guilty, then they will sentence them. Now, they can actually send somebody to prison for up to 6 months. Currently, the government is looking at whether to extend that to 12 months for triable either way offences. They can also fine people. Ant from Ant and Dec from the television got fined, I think it was something like £88,000 for drink driving. So they can send people to prison, a whole range of sentences. You know, watch the sentencing video to find out what they can do. As well as summary offences, they will hear triable either way offences. Now, triable either way offences can either be heard by the magistrates or in the Crown Court. If there are things like theft and ABH and Section 20 GBH. So what they'll do is they'll hear the plea before venue, and the magistrates will decide if they have enough sentencing powers to hear the triable either way offence. If they say, yes, we can deal with this, then if the defendant pleads not guilty, they have a choice as to which court they would be heard in. So they would have a mode of trial hearing. Magistrates also listen to indictable. Well, they don't listen to indictable offences. What they do, they get the indictment in front of them, if it's murder, for example, and then they commit them. They send them up to the Crown Court. What else does a magistrate do? Well, they deal with bail applications. They deal with arrest warrants. The youth court, which is 10 to 17-year-olds, that must be held in private with a mix of genders, and they listen to appeals in the Crown Court. They also deal with police questioning extension time. So this is up to, the police can hold you up to 96 hours. Superintendent can say up to 36 hours, and then you would have to go to the magistrates to have that further extended. Okay, the next part is, what qualifications do magistrates have? How do you become a magistrate? Well, first of all, no legal qualifications are needed. You have to be 18 to 65. You can retire up until the age of 70, but you must be appointed by the age of 65. So if you decide age 66 you want to be a magistrate, you've left it too late. Now in 2016, only 3% of magistrates are under 40, so they are older than 40. And the Lord Chancellor years ago set out 6 key qualities that you need to be a magistrate. First of all, good character. Secondly, understanding and communication. Third, social awareness. Fourth, maturity and sound temperament. Fifth, sound judgment. 6, commitment and reliability. Now you have to be able to fulfill all of those criteria, and that's judged at the interview stage and on your application. How many days do you have to work as a magistrate? Well, you have to commit to at least 26 half days. So that's one afternoon or one morning a fortnight. Who cannot be a magistrate? Well, if you have a serious criminal conviction, you can't be a magistrate. Any undischarged bankruptcies, if you're in the armed forces, if you're a police officer, any relatives of those who are working in the criminal justice system, close relatives, traffic wardens, and if you have a close relative who is a magistrate. So the bench isn't really that representative because it's made up of older people. Class-wise, they're probably more likely to be middle class. However, it is representative in terms of gender and ethnicity, which is good. Okay, so in terms of how a magistrate is selected and appointed, well, about 1,200 are appointed every year by the senior presiding judge, who is a Court of Appeal judge. And that judge acts upon the recommendations from the LAC, the Local Advisory Committee. LAC has up to 12 members made up of magistrates and non-magistrates. And I think each area has an LAC. Ads are placed online, in the press, buses, radios, and generally people these days do apply online, and they are encouraged to attend court to watch some cases and some open evenings. So if you meet the criteria, you will then be interviewed, and there are 2 stages. The first interview, they judge your personal qualities. So they look at whether you have those 6 key characteristics that we just talked about: sound judgment and maturity, things like that, reliability. So those 6 they will look at. Do you have those? And they will consider your attitudes towards things like speeding. So they would ask you, is speeding ever okay? And then listen to your answer. The second interview involves a lot of case studies and sentencing activities, and I guess they're trying to establish how you would deal with somebody in real life. What would you look at? Would you be able to follow the guidelines? And then the LAC, Local Advisory Committee, remember, submit the names to the senior presiding judge, who appoints the magistrates. Now, magistrates, we said, aren't legally qualified, but just be aware they have a clerk who is qualified solicitor or barrister in court with them, and they will help not with the decision but with any legal procedures. So that is all you need to know about magistrates. So just think of it about the role of a magistrate, and then how are you selected and appointed? What do you need to be a magistrate? The other lay people topic that is very popular in exams are jurors. So tune in for the jurors video.